I love Fallout. Fallout is one of those games I think about every once in a while, and for good reason. My love for Fallout wouldn't start until I first played Fallout 4. I had received it as a Christmas gift along with the original Xbox One.
It's beautiful.
Of course, I was a lot younger, so looking at this from that age, I was angered by the fact that this wasn't Call of Duty Black Ops 3. With that frustration I had, the thought of me selling the game came into mind, until I looked at the info of the back of the game box and did a little more thinking. One thing came into another, and I gave Fallout 4 a shot, and I instantly fell in love with it. After completing Fallout 4, I had thought to myself, I want more. So like a crackhead craving a fix, I went to the GameStop and looked. Fallout. Once I had bought the copy, and after a short couple of hours, I had beat the game. Disappointed because of how short the game was, I instantly shot down the idea of playing the other Fallout. And as years went by, fast forward to 2024, with the new Fallout show coming out, this has sparked back the conversations of Fallout games amongst everyone, including me and my friends. So I thought, man, I have got to play Fallout again. So I went to Steam, bought the Game of the Year edition Fallout 3, and started playing it once again, expecting something different. So what did I end up thinking of this game the second time around? Well, it's a messy masterpiece. In order to explain, I will divide this video into segments: the bad, the good, and the little things. So let's grab our Nuka-Colas and our Instamash and sit down. As I'm sure anyone with a brain knows, open world games usually 9 out of 10 aren't good. And it's not the concept that is bad, it's the execution. Many times over than one, no matter the hype of an open world experience, it will fail because of one factor: the world itself. So if the world itself doesn't feel alive and have inhabitants to show there are moving parts, 9 out of 10 you will find a game like this boring. With Fallout games, this is never the problem. Even in its lesser titles, I always feel like the place is lived in and there's some stuff moving around in the game. Especially in the wasteland that is Washington, D.C., there are many places to explore and many factions of people to govern said places. To name some of these places, you have Megaton, Little Lamplight, Big Town, Oasis, Old Olney, Tenpenny Tower, and most of these places have their own people and themes to these said places, making this place feel real. Exploring the wasteland is made much funner with the simple inclusion of these things. You can interact with these people, the people in them, and find fun quests to do, with my favorite one being Tenpenny Towers quest. Since we are talking about quests, for this segment I will use Tenpenny Towers quest as the primary example, as I feel it really hones in on the role-playing aspect in Fallout. In this quest you stumble upon two people, the Ghoul and Alistar Tenpenny's inhabitants, with the first one being the one you meet initially. He'll be at the intercom asking the guards to let him in so he can live there. Curious, you ask him if you can help him in his quest to gain entrance. With this, you go into the hotel and ask Mr. Tenpenny, with many speech failures, if these guys can stay here. Of course, being a rich guy and a ghoul hater like most inhabitants of the wasteland, he says no. But if you can convince these guys, then sure. So now you have two options: tell the ghouls to leave it alone, or convince the people that maybe the ghouls aren't so bad. I chose the one to convince the people since I'm such a good guy and like to see both sides. And once I was done yapping to them about the ghouls and convincing them, I told the leader Roy, yo, you can live there. And like most people who chose this ending, I thought it would be well at Tenpenny Tower. It wasn't until I had started the quest to get the T-51 power armor that I saw my objective of killing Alistar Tenpenny was done. And I thought, so I went to Tenpenny Tower to see, and most people were dead. And everybody else, they were a ghoul. Mad at Roy Phillips for tricking me to simply thinking he wanted a place to live other than the sewers, I killed him. Looking back, this is one of the more dynamic quests with multiple endings, as either way you may go in this quest, more often than not you find an ending that is different. I really think Tenpenny Tower is underappreciated when it comes to this aspect, but that is probably because there's a number of quests similar to this in all of the wasteland in Washington, D.C. My personal opinion, I think the reason I appreciate 3 in New Vegas is because of the fun, dynamic set of quests they have. They all have a different route you can go to a different ending, and the same is true for the main story. You can also get different rewards from quests, like some recon groups, armor, or a cool minigun. But that's enough about the quest. We should talk about leveling up. It's just the best level up system. That is just what I think. I'm sorry, go argue with your grandma. Exploration is the one thing I think remains a constant in the Fallout series. It's always fun to explore a new wasteland despite a game's flaws, and this one's no different. Exploring Washington, D.C. is probably the most fun I've had since playing most open world games. Just with the sheer amount of different places you can find, each with their own trinkets, make playing the game that much more interesting, which only gets further more interesting when you meet the friendly or unfriendly inhabitants like Deathclaws, super mutants, Mirelurks, ghouls, robots, raiders, and the Enclave. Speaking of the Enclave, though, Main story is peak. I could talk about the majority of the story, but I think the segment I want to talk about the most is the Broken Steel story. The battle of the Enclave and the Brotherhood, plus you and Fawkes, I guess. And what can I even say that hasn't been said? Seeing Liberty Prime body every poor Enclave soldier in sight had me over here smiling ear to ear with popcorn in my hand. And the ending's just the icing on the cake. There's a lot of good in Fallout 3 despite what people say. Of course, there is some bad, and we are about to get to that. This may seem like a nitpick, but the armor and weapons break so quickly. You don't know how many plasma and shotguns I went through playing this game. Every time I got a cool set of Tesla power armor, I knew after a couple fights with enemies, it was gonna break. And while it is a realistic thing, it's just an annoying issue. Also, why do the merchants charge so much to repair the weapons? 1,000 caps for a plasma rifle is crazy work. However, you can just find a replacement if you look hard enough. So I guess it doesn't matter in the long run, but then it makes you ask the question, why even include that in the game? I'm not about to blow 300 caps to repair my power armor when I can just find a dead body of someone wearing said power armor. I love Fallout 3. Despite what people say about this game, despite its flaws or where it sits in the series, I still think on its own is one of the most fun experiences in gaming, and I think you should give it a genuine shot. Anyways, Fallout New Vegas review coming soon. Peace.